to have a small number of subscribers, but I'm just going to choose to have confidence and realize that maybe my subscribers just like what I do. So I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do, and I've always wanted to read books. So for no particular reason except that this is a book that I'm trying to get through. I'm trying to run through all my books. I'm going to be reading The White Cat. It's called White Cat, Black Dog by Kelly Link. Apparently it's a national bestseller, and a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize. Yes, I said it like that on purpose. I'm trying to get into correct pronunciation, as it helps in life. It will help society, and it helps me. I'm only going to read what I have already read. So it's going to be a very short video for this introduction into this book. All stories about divorce must begin some other place. And so let us begin with a man so rich he might reach out and have almost anything he desired, as well as many things he did not. He had so many houses, even his accountants could not keep track of them all. He had private planes and newspapers and politicians who saw to it that his wishes became laws. He had orchards, islands, baseball teams, and even a team of entomologists whose mandate was to find. Oh my gosh, the first time I messed up. I hate it. I'm gonna start the sentence over. He had orchards, islands, baseball teams, and even a team of entomologists whose mandate was to find new species of beetles to be given variations on the rich man's name. For it was true that God loved beetles. Was it not true he loved the rich man even more? Was his good fortune not proof of this? The rich man had all of this and more. I have space to write anything you have ever possessed. Know that he had this too. And if he did not, he could have paid you whatever your price was in order to obtain it. All men desire to be rich. No man desires to grow old. To stave off old age, the rich man paid for personal trainers and knee replacements and cosmetic procedures. That meant he always had a somewhat wide-eyed look, as if he were not a man in his 70s at all, but rather still an infant who found his life a cascade of marvelous and surprising events. The rich man had follicular unit transplantation and special creams to bleach age spots. For dinner, his personal chefs served him fish and berries and walnuts, as if he were a bear and not a rich man at all. Every morning he swam 2 miles in a lake that was kept by an enormous mechanism at a comfortable temperature for him throughout the year. In the afternoons, he had blood transfusions from adolescent donors. These transfusions began a condition of the scholarships to various universities that the rich man funded. In the evenings, he threw lavish parties, surrounding himself with people who were young and beautiful. As he grew older, his people who were young and beautiful, as he grew older, his wives grew younger. And in this way, for a time, the rich man was able to persuade himself that he too was still young and might remain so forever. But although a man may acquire younger and ever more beautiful wives, who will maintain the pretense that he too is still untouched by age? This rich man had a long time ago been married to a first wife, and this first wife had 3 sons. The 3 sons have been raised with every advantage by caregivers and tutors and therapists and life coaches, paid to adhere to the best principles of child rearing, were attractive, personable, and in every way the kind of children that a father could have regarded with satisfaction. And yet the rich man did not regard them with satisfaction. Instead, he looked at his 3 sons, the youngest of whom was now 19. He saw only proof of his own mortality. It is difficult to remain young with one's children selfishly insisting upon growing older. To make matters worse, his sons were all in residence at the house where the rich man was spending the winter. The eldest was in the middle of an acrimonious divorce, his first, and the second was hiding out from the media, while the third had no good reason at all, except that he truly loved his father and wished for his approval. Although he had flunked out of university, everywhere the rich man turned, a son was underfoot. At night, he began to be visited by a certain dream. In this dream, the rich man was troubled, first by the notion that he had a 4th child. And in the dream, no sooner he had this notion that he became aware that the 4th child too was a guest in the house. And although in the morning the rich man found he could never remember what this child looked like, was it small or tall? Was it long and slender or enormous? it blotted out its surroundings. What was the sound of its voice? He knew this last child was death. In the dream, the rich man, offered his child all he had in return for more life. But nothing the rich man had to offer was of interest to death. The only thing death desired was the company of its father. Sometimes the rich man had this dream 3 or 4 times in one night. By day he began to detest the sight of his sons. At last, in perplexity, the rich man turned to consultants to assist him with the problem of his sons. And by the end of the week, a most elegant plan had been put in place. The rich man, in accordance, summoned his 3 sons to his side. Once he had embraced them lovingly, and they had discussed the news of the day, and the foundations and boards of which his sons were nominally the heads, he said, "My sons, although it is true that I am in my prime, and although I know it pains you to contemplate, a day must come when I retire into private life and take up a hobby like growing orchards or hunting the most dangerous game or sending unmanned vessels into the sun. Unmanned vessels into the sun to see what happens. And although it is farther off still, yet it is ever drawing nearer. A day in which an expert team will cryogenically freeze my body as well as the body of my current wife until such a time when medical advances can resurrect me into some unknown hellish future in a body that can satisfy more than 3 women at a time, while also battling apocalypse mutant lizards and conquering whatever remains of the New York Stock Exchange." His sons exchanged looks with each other, and the youngest said, "Dear father, as it seems impossible to us that you will ever be any less vital than you are at this moment," the rich man said, "Nevertheless, a time must come when all things change. And when I think of the future, there are 2 things I desire above all else. One is to name my heir. My second desire is for a companion to be a comfort to me in the years of my decline." The oldest son said, "Pardon me, father, but are you telling us that you are to marry again?" The rich man said, No. Elisa and I are quite happy. What I wish for is simply a dog, the smallest, silkiest, most obedient, and amiable dog a man has ever possessed. I have decided to task you, my sons, with this errand. You will have a year and a day to scour the earth for such a dog. And I, at the end of that span, whichever of you procures it, I shall leave you everything that I own. That I own. But father, the second son said, dogs make you sneeze, which is why we were never allowed to keep them as pets. Alright, that was my first reading from ending at page 7 from the first page of the book, which is officially page 3 of the book. So yeah, I read it from page 3 to 7. I will be starting from 7 next time. And the first chapter is called The White Cat's Divorce. And that will be in the description of my video, and potentially in the title. So I like reading, and hopefully whoever is watching this liked it too. I'm just gonna read through this entire book. I'm gonna read it to whoever's listening. So I think next time I'm gonna go chapter by chapter. Next time, it's not like a kid's book or older. Oh wait, here it is. They used to like contents page, where it's just the chapters. So yeah, going chapter by chapter. The next one is The Prince Hat Underground. I will be finishing this chapter, The White Cat's Divorce, and completing Prince Hat Underground. So that would mean that by the time I finish, I will have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 videos, a 6-part video series of me reading aloud White Cat, Black Dog by Kelly Link. So I wanted to read so many other books, but I didn't know if there was a market for it, so plus I would have to read a book. I'd have to commit to reading this book. So but I'll go ahead and do it now. So yeah, that was page 3 to 7. Next video will be 7, and then all the way through the current chapter and the next chapter.